Hi, Facebook and YouTube. We are talking today about how to get clarity in your story. I'm going to set up Instagram and then we will get started. Hi, Instagram. Welcome to my live. We are talking about how to get clarity on your story. So this is just for authors who are kind of struggling to find direction. They really just need help on getting their just making their story really clear in their head. So I'm going to give you some tips and tricks for that, and we're going to talk all about different ways that you can work through this on your own, and then also how you can bring in some help. So it's going to be really fun, and I'm excited you're here. I am live on YouTube and Facebook over here too. If you see me turning, that's why. So thank you all for bearing with me. This is the best system we got right now. So we're going to get started talking about how to get clarity in your story. So this is for authors who are, maybe you're a pantser and you're struggling to know what's going to come next on your story. This happens to me a lot. So this is why I know how to talk about this story, about this topic, because sometimes as a pantser, I'm writing and I kind of get stuck. I'm not sure where the story is going to go. And usually for me, I just write right through it. And usually it's not so great. And I have to clean up that section, but until I get my rhythm back again. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Or maybe you just don't know where to start. Maybe you have a story idea and you're not really sure about it, but you know that you have an idea that you want to write down. You have a story inside you want to tell, but you're just not sure how to get started. Or you've written a story and the direction kind of seems off. So, and you don't really know what it is. You're just kind of like, something's a little off here, and you're not really quite sure. And it's whether you're a pantser or a plotter, sometimes the plot may not go smoothly for you. Like I said, I'm a pantser, so this happens a lot too, where I'm just not quite sure where the story is going, and it's not as clear in my head as it should be as I'm pantsing. Now, of course, for pantsers or plotters, there's different ways that you write. You have a different writing process, and everyone has a unique writing process, and that's good. That's part of, having we're all different people. We have different experiences. We have different writing processes, and that's what makes it all diverse and unique and fun. So I can speak to like best practices, and I can speak to what works for me. I am not a plotter, however, so I cannot give you all the details on that. But when you are plotting a book, you need to know where it's going. It's kind of the idea of the plot. And I know that, and I've talked to plotters, and they have said that even though they have the story plotted, sometimes it goes in a little bit different direction. And so that may be the case. And that's where we lean into our intuition to tell us when things aren't quite right and we need to take a different direction. But for pantsers, as you're discovering the plot while you're writing the first draft, which is, we're all plotting, we just do it differently. You're not maybe quite sure where the story is going. And a lot of times is the case for me. I will be writing a book and I don't know where it's going to end up, or I may have like one line of this is where it's going to end up, or a very vague idea of the ending. And for me, that's part of the fun of it, the discovery process. So let's get into the tips on how to find clarity. And I actually, as I was talking, just came up with another one. So we're going to add that to the list. Yeah. All right. So the first one, and I mentioned it in just a minute ago, is tapping into your intuition. And there are several ways to do this, and I've talked about this some here on my Instagram page and in past lives that I've done here on Facebook, YouTube. But there are different ways to do this. Some of my favorites are to get quiet, and you can do this by just walk outside, or just, kind of closing yourself. And my hair's just being weird today. Closing yourself in a room, just getting quiet, or you can do this through meditation. That helps really clear the mind and help you focus. Another way could be freeform journaling, kind of like working out the details. Now, if I get really stuck in a manuscript, this is one of my go-tos. I will pull out, because I write on my computer. A lot of times I do a lot of my thinking while I'm typing. And I have certain, little writing quirks that I do as I'm typing, and that kind of helps my brain get in that mode and work. But if I'm really stuck and that's not working, I will pull out a notebook, just a plain old notebook, whatever it is, and I'll just start kind of free forming, like just these are different ideas, or maybe I'll pose myself a question or another question that leads to another question, that kind of thing. Free form journaling done, so, in like an author. So there's different reasons to journal, and some of them is like trauma recovery and trauma discovery so that you can heal those, or just as a form of healing. But I think for writers, we can tap into that as well. Even when we're like, also to get in the right writing mindset to be able to sell books and things like that, but also to help us with our stories, to help us kind of brainstorm and get the ideas out and try to find clarity in that story. So journaling, I would definitely recommend. And then visualization. So these are kind of like mindset tools, but we're using them to help us get clear in our story. So visualization, visualizing the plot. Like if you can, and I say this with show versus tell, picture your book like a movie, right? So if you can picture your book as a movie and picture different characters, and it gets really clear on your head, like what they look like, what they do, how they act, or different mannerisms, all of this, which is super helpful when you're writing the book anyway, by the way. But if you can get really super clear, and then you can start to visualize the end scene, if it helps you to even like storyboard it or draw it if you're an artist. In that way, I am not. So I will not be doing that because my stick figures would not help me visualize it at all. But if that helps you, or maybe finding inspiration for your characters, like pictures of them, or even videos. I just actually made a really fun video using Canva and all of their stock videos. So they have a lot of different things there, and so that may help you visualize it too. Is to just kind of create a scene in your head, and just so you can picture it, so that you can actually write it really well. Okay, so that's first, tap into your intuition. Number 2 is get feedback. So the importance here is you want feedback from people you can trust, or at the very least that you don't have a super strong emotional connection to, where if they are very critical of you, then you're not able to take that with a grain of salt and let it go. So if you find a supportive family member, if it might be your spouse, a sibling, a parent, child, depending on the genre of book you write and how old your child is, of course. But if you can find someone, or just friends in your life, that was willing to help you talk it out, willing to listen. And sometimes, and this is kind of leading into another point here, but just getting, in this instance, getting feedback from them, saying, hey, I'm working on this. I don't really know like what I should do next. The people that know you best may be able to pinpoint things that you can do to help you get clarity. So maybe meditation's not your thing, but maybe you really enjoy a walk on the beach, and that really helps you get clear, and you just haven't thought of it yet. And your spouse is like, hey, get outside, or hey, you need a night in a hotel so you can just clear your brain and work on this. So it's turn to the people that know you most to be able to give you supportive advice on how to handle the situation, even if it's not on the story itself. Now, point number 3, or before we move on, getting feedback from other author friends can be helpful as well. So here on Instagram or on Facebook or on YouTube or wherever you hang out with your author friends, even in person, if you're so blessed to have access to that, just get other feedback from them, and maybe they have things that have worked for them in the past. And that's part of why I'm on this live stream, to offer you suggestions from one of your author friends. So, okay, so next point. Number 3 is talk it out. Now, this is also a really helpful thing when I am stuck on a manuscript. I will pull my husband in, and I will start talking. And I'm like, you don't have to respond. You don't even have to really hear what I'm saying. I just need somebody to a sounding board. I just need someone to talk at so I can work this out. So sometimes I'll do this myself. Like if I'm in the car, I don't drive often now. But when I was working a full-time job and I had a commute, in the car, I would talk to myself and talk these things out and be like, I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. I'm not sure what this is. So I'm going to, okay. Okay. No, this, and this. Okay. If I did this, yeah, you get the idea. I'm not making much sense, but you get the idea. So talk it out loud to yourself. Talk it to other, again, supporting family members who are willing to listen to you ramble on. until you kind of like work out those things. And it's hilarious because it's funny because my husband does, my husband's my sounding board for this, and he does get, he does pick up kind of like what's generally going on in the book. But of course there are things that are going on that he's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, you don't need to know. I'm just working this out myself. So it's kind of a fun thing. Helps you get closer to your family if they're willing to do it. Okay, so, and I didn't mention this earlier, but if you have any questions about anything I'm talking about, or if you're stuck in your manuscript and you want to work through something, I'm happy to do that. That's why I'm here, so that we can work through this together. Okay. Yes, 1, 2, 3. Now, before I get on to 4 and 5, I'm going to add another one in here, a little caveat, because we talked about one way I get clarity in my story is to keep writing. And so I'm going to add that in as a bullet point, even though I did not have that in the original outline, because especially as a pantser, for me, I'm not talking about just writing generally. Like I actually will write more of the story. And sometimes this is stuff that doesn't stay in the story. Sometimes it's really poorly written. Sometimes it's meandering and weird. And then I eventually end up at the scene I want to, and I realize that getting there should have been a straight line. It shouldn't have been so meandering, but that's part of the process. And that's what you clean up in the editing process. So I'm going to add that bullet point. Number 4 is to keep writing. See if that works for you. See if it just, see if the scene eventually comes to you and you get there in this meandering way, and then you can just cut out all that fluff that you needed. That's important because you needed it to get to the scene, but you don't need it in the final version of the book. And that's okay. That's part of the process. That's why editing, sometimes you just have to cut a lot of things, and that's okay. That's totally fine. Your writing process is your writing process. And if it works for you, if it helps you write the books you want to write, don't worry about changing it. Don't listen to anybody else telling you you should do this or should do that. There are no shoulds. You do you. Okay, so number 5, because I added that one in there, is learn more about the writing craft. So if you are really stuck, you can't figure out where your story is going, you can learn more about writing itself. There are lots of books for this. Getting on a live like this, I do these every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Pacific. Would be really helpful too. So you can get some clarity on like how to write. And when you get that kind of clarity, you can even read books like, I'm in the middle of reading Stephen King's kind of writing craft / memoir book on writing. And it's been really good, but it can also help you trigger different parts of your brain. So reading a memoir or reading something in a different genre, reading a nonfiction, reading fiction in a completely different genre that you don't normally write in or read in, just getting kind of all of this different learning more about writing itself will help you get clarity. Now, maybe you're a person that you don't understand necessarily the ins and outs of how a story works. Like you don't understand the, like, and okay, so let me start with this way. I am not formally, like I didn't go to school. I don't have a degree in writing. And therefore I don't have all the technical names for, the first, I think it's like called the inciting incident or something. And there's like the climax, whatever they call it. So I don't have all of those technical terms, but I don't need those because I understand how story works at a basic level. And though I haven't learned the proper terminology to name those, I am still able to execute that in a story because I understand how it works. And so if it helps you though to learn those terms, then take a writing class. Take someone that has done this before or someone that understands like those details, and you can take those. Now, for a lot of us, we don't need to know all those details. So you learn from someone who has written books, who walks you through the process, who knows all of the ins and outs of story and how it works and what works in a book, what works in different genres and things like that. And you can learn from those people. So that is kind of number 6. We're number 6, getting help from a professional. So there are a lot of writing experts out there, and there are a lot of authors. And I would argue that any author who writes a book on some level knows what they're doing because they've written a book. Now, of course, the quality of the book could be in question. So, but if you want to produce quality books and you want to produce the absolute best story that's in your head, and you want to put it on paper in the best way possible, getting help from a professional is one of the best things you can do. Now, this can include writing mentors or coaches, or joining some writing groups, or writing mastermind, which if you've seen my post earlier, you'll know where I'm going with this. But it's really helpful just to get that kind of counsel, if it's one-on-one or if it's in a group setting, or just to kind of get that feedback from other authors. So there are benefits to hiring a professional, is that you get to learn things more quickly. You also get to learn from their experience and their trial and error. And that's why you learn more quickly, because they say, I've tried all this, and I've tried, this is good, this is bad, this worked, this didn't. I've tried everything here that I'm talking about, and this is how I've seen it work well for me. So also, let's see, it'll give you confidence in your own ability, because you actually will have someone, if they're doing it right, that will be able to teach you how to tap into your own, and I'm going to use the word storytelling magic. Again, if you see my post, you know where I'm going with this. The tool will teach you to tap into your own unique storytelling magic so that you can bring that out. It's not about learning how to write like another author. It's about learning how to write like you were meant to write. Write the story you were given to tell in the way that you can only tell it. Okay, so I've hinted at it. This is what I wanted to mention. So I just opened today the Magic of Show versus Tell Mastermind. Now, if you have been here a long time, or even for a little bit, you probably have learned that I love to talk about show versus tell. It's like my favorite thing to talk about. If you don't understand what that is, I've got some replays up. I think I just did, I covered show versus tell basics last week here in this Tuesday live series. So you can kind of get an idea of what show versus tell is. But the magic of show versus tell is actually in how it relates to every part of the writing process. So if you master show versus tell, you master how to write a book, because it's so pervasive. It really covers everything. So what this mastermind is, it will teach you show versus tell, but it's also going to teach you different writing craft topics that relate to the book and brings in all of those things. Now, it's a 6-week program and it's a live program. So we're doing weekly lives where we teach a different subject, but we're also doing application sections, and I'll give you examples, and we're doing Q&As, and there will be a group where everyone can interact. So it's going to be a really interactive experience. It's going to help everyone involved really get in touch with their own magic. Like I said, there's storytelling magic that's inside each and every author that has a story to tell. And it's going to help you bring that out and put it on the page in a way that makes sense, in a way that is going to be compelling. And it's going to ultimately create a book that readers just can't stop reading, which is what you want. Okay, so that is kind of my 2 cents about that. I do have a link. I put it in the link in the Facebook and YouTube below, so you can find out more about that. And in Instagram, it's the link in my bio. And when I do this replay, it will also be in the description there too. So I hope you read more about it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can always email me or DM me, whatever platform you're on. And I would just love to chat with you about it if you want to know more. Or if not, you can just go to that link and find out everything you would need to know. It's going to be a lot of fun. Classes actually start September 27th. So and enrollment won't be open for super long. So if you're interested, check that out. I would love to have you in it because it's going to be so much fun. I'm really excited about it. So, okay, well, thank you guys so much for coming. I hope these tips have been helpful to help you get a little bit of clarity in your story and give you some actionable steps to get there, because I know how frustrating it is when the story is not working. And I will end with this little tiny tidbit story. So when I was writing my second book, and I say second because I kind of draft out of order, but the second book I released, The Prophecy of the Codex, when I was writing that, I actually wrote this whole separate storyline, and I started to go into, I don't even know what happened, but at some point, a couple of my main characters got in a car crash, and it was a pretty severe car crash. And so I was like, okay, they're probably gonna be injured, and that might take them out of the book for a while. And I was like, okay, this is not feeling right. This is not accurate. And so what I ended up doing was going back in my story until it felt good again. And so this is what I was talking about when it's going in a direction that just feels off. I went back into my story until the point where I said, okay, this feels good again. And then I actually started again from there and took it in a different direction. And the story became what it is today. So all of this to say, it can be frustrating when you're stuck, and it can be frustrating when you're in the middle of it. But there are ways to help you get through that. So if you want to, there's all these replays are going to be up. I'm going to put it up on IGTV, and then it should be up on Facebook and YouTube as well, where you can watch the replay, write down these tips. If you get stuck, you can come back and reference this video so that you have actionable steps you can take to get you out of that space, so you're not always stuck, and so you can get clear on what your story is. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming. I'm going to see you later. Bye, YouTube and Facebook. Take a minute. Okay. Well, anyway, it's still taking a minute, but there we go. Anyway, I don't know what's doing. It says an error occurred. Okay. Well, thank you, Instagram, so much for coming. Thank you for listening, and I hope you'll check out the mastermind. I would love to have you. Bye. All right, Facebook and YouTube. I'm not sure if we're still live, but I'm going to try to end the broadcast again. We'll see. It's giving me an error. I'm not sure what that's about. Bye. Okay, well, this has never happened to me before. And I'm really not even sure if I'm still live. So, yeah. Okay, I'm going to take myself out of the stream, and until I can get this worked out, we're going to have a black screen. So I hope you all have a good day.